It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
Hey guys, Tyler here. Ideas don't necessarily exist in a vacuum. Every single last media that everybody enjoys, be it music, movies, or books, must have been inspired by something else that predates it. There's actually a famous quotation I remember reading at some point where it basically states out loud that good artists copy and that great artists steal. The whole entire genesis of the monster movie did not necessarily start with King Kong. Although King Kong was by far the most successful one prior to anything else, there was actually a movie that was called The Lost World, and the special effects for that particular movie were done directly by Willis O'Brien. Now, this right here is an actual example of what he did in the past when he was doing the special effects of the dinosaurs fighting against each other. Willis O'Brien will later do the special effects for King Kong, and when King Kong was re-released during the 1950s, it inspired a series of monster movies during that time period. And so the question then becomes, how exactly did the beast from 20,000 Phantom directly inspired Godzilla? There's a book that's called Japan's Favorite Monster, the Unauthorized Biography of the Big G, that was written down by Steve Rifle, that goes into great details about the behind the scenes of the original Godzilla movie that came out back in 1954. There's this one particular quotation that completely stuck out to me. It says right here, before there was a screenplay, a storyline, or even a precise idea of what his monster will look like, Toho producer Tomoyuki Tanaka decided on a working title, The Giant Monster from 2,000 Miles Beneath the Sea. What we know from both stories is that both Godzilla and the Beast were born and baptized as a direct result of the hydrogen bomb, and because of that, they have awoken directly from their slumber after millions upon millions of years.
We saw something. Maybe the shock tossed something in front of the antenna. Yeah, that must have been it.
Besides the aspect of the hydrogen bomb, Godzilla was also largely inspired by the events that occur for the Lucky Dragon 5. And for those that have no idea what exactly is that particular reference, what occurred was that a boat of 20 plus fishermen were on sea, and suddenly the boat got directly attacked by some sort of weapon that was done by the United States government. And so within the first few seconds of Godzilla, what we see is a direct reference of said event. Both Godzilla and the Beast are giant reptiles. Now, for the case of the Beast, what it can actually do is breathe fire directly from his mouth. And for the case of Godzilla, he can simply use his atomic ray to also attack people too. In terms of the motifs, there's like a lot of overlap between the two stories. Now, one major aspect is the fact that the Beast had this one particular sequence where he goes out his way to attack a lighthouse. Although Godzilla in the final screenplay in the movie does not necessarily attack a lighthouse, the reality is that the original Godzilla movie was actually pinned down as a story before it was actually adapted directly by Ishiro Honda for the final script. The original story for Godzilla was penned down by Shigeru Kayama. Whoa! The force was so great that even the policemen couldn't help lowering their heads to shield their face under the metal helmets. Wow! One of the policemen screamed, "Godzilla!" His cry pierced the darkness. Splash! A massive spray of water rose from the tsunami-like wave, and there in the middle of it was Godzilla's upper body sticking out of the sea. Blush white light was emerging from every part of his body, and with a huge roar, grrr, he opened his red mouth and moved to attack the lighthouse right in front of him. When the beast is directly attacking New York, what he does is use his mouth to pick up a car and throw the car back on the ground. Similarly, when Godzilla goes out of his way to attack Tokyo, what he does is stop the train at its place, he picks up the train with his mouth, and throws the train back on the ground. The United States military tried their damnedest to actually defeat the beast, and one such aspect that they actually used for the movie was this notion of electricity that could electrocute the beast, but unfortunately, it did not necessarily work out.
The high voltage wires. It's gonna touch him!
Similarly, for the case of Godzilla, the Japanese military used electricity against him, and it did not necessarily work. The role of the paleontologist is huge for both movies. For the case of the beast, originally, the paleontologist did not necessarily believe the fact that the main character actually spotted a dinosaur. It was much more later in the movie that he actually did in fact believe him. The paleontologist for the case of a Godzilla has a moral dilemma for the movie because he does not necessarily want to kill off Godzilla, and the main reason why he does not want to kill off Godzilla is largely because nobody has seen anything like this before, and so they want to actually keep Godzilla alive for scientific purposes. When the military try to fight off against the beast, what happens is that they have a sort of sense of sickness.
Colonel Evans speaking. Go ahead.
Look, Colonel, something's funny. Most of the detail there. Well, they're out. Out on their feet, sir.
Have your sergeant contact the medics and report to Captain Mitchell.
Because Godzilla was made directly from radiation, many people also have radiation sickness too from the monster. So the question then becomes, is Godzilla really a ripoff from the beast of 2000 Fantoms? Like I said earlier in my video, ideas don't necessarily exist in a vacuum, and although there are direct cross parallels between the beast from 20,000 Fantoms and the original Godzilla movie from 1954, the reality is that there's like enough material in the original Godzilla movie that makes it so much more different to watch in comparison to the beast. For starters, the special effects are different because on one hand, for the case of the beast, the special effects were done directly by stop motion animation. Meanwhile, for the case of AG Super Raya, he wanted to use stop motion animation but settled with Suitmation instead. And so special effects wise, they're very different. In terms of the tone, I would say that the beasts from 20,000 Fantoms have a lighter tone in comparison to Godzilla, because the Godzilla tone is much more dark, much more moody, much more depressing in comparison to The Beast. So both movies, although they have similarities, the tones are different, the special effects are different, and so I would say that personally I prefer Godzilla over The Beast because of the tone reasons and because it's a better story in my personal opinion. But what do you guys think about both movies? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys next video.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.